I remember 1999, I went to a print conference in Bristol, and they were coming up like, we've never seen any approach to printmaking like this and all this. And then I'd have the people from the New York school thinking I was, the devil incarnate, bringing this digital thing into the traditional, because there's a lot of people there that found it a threat. And I got a lot of flack, but you just sort of, you go, okay, well, I'll prove to you that, I've always worked with collage, even when I was a student, and it's just sort of gone into different manifestations through different media. And obviously with the digital, it was a lot easier and faster to get ideas out. So I started to play with that, and the first efforts were really crude, because prints are fantastic. There's an intrinsic quality to the surface. There's a richness that at that time, early 90s to mid 90s, they were really boring, and they were these wax prints, and they just looked awful. So then I was really thinking, okay, if this is going to work, and I wanted it to work, I want to get the intrinsic quality of what the traditional print does to the digital. I wanted to make images that were so different that no one else could sort of do them. So I redid the work that I had digitally. Every print was imbued with woodcut, litho, bit of screen, every bit of printmaking I had to make that surface tactile again. I started to get an interest in it because a lot of my work was photographic based. I plundered stuff from the family album, which was really sort of retracing my father and the whole migrant experience thing, And I was tracking his journey into Tasmania and working for the hydro, and I was told how they lost everything. How the Russians came in and did this, and they had a 3-story house with a business in it and lost everything, ran with a suitcase. And so I suppose the only thing, they just wanted to come here and give their kids a better future, and, that was the pressure of every migrant. They were really grateful of being here, and, till I was 6 or 7, I didn't speak English. And I was born in North Hobart, and they spoke German and Serbian to me, and they'd play games like Mum would talk German, I'd just simply reply in German. Dad would throw in a bit of Serb, I'd reply in Serb. So they dumped me in grade 1 without knowing anything. So all the information I got from the old country was through their stories. And some of it was probably true, and some myths, and Dad read me, these funny children's book in Serbian, all these funny monsters and stuff. So it was a really funny sort of upbringing there, and then you just want to be the dinky-die Australian, just become assimilated in this place. So a lot of the work then started to explore me in this position that's somewhere between Europe and Australia, in some floating world that's through imagination, stories and mythology really. And how that happened was a big coincidence in a residency in Scotland, and I was there and I thought, look, I want to get into that Scottish flavour, so I went to look for John Buchan books, It was like a movie or something. I tried to pull this book out and this other book fell out, and it was Luis Borges, his book of imaginary beings. So forget old Buchan, I had a look at this thing and thought, wow, this is really interesting, because it gave me sort of an idea of what I was dealing with, which was being German, Serbian, born in Australia, this sort of weird hybrid mix of cultures. And I thought that this sort of idea of hybrid beings and made-up beasties would just be a terrific way of almost, reflecting on, that's me, actually, It all sort of gelled when I thought, okay, the concept is hybrid, the actual technique is hybrid, and it all sort of just come together. It's sort of aiming to be a utopia, but it's a dystopia, really. And I think in a lot of those prints, it was sort of like, sometimes it's awkward for the creature, sometimes they're at home, sometimes they're fighting, so, and it was really my kind of, feeling. When I had that residency, I had to do a show at the Aberdeen Art Gallery. Now, the Scottish, they're a wild bunch, and a couple of young guys there that were doing printmaking at the Royal College in London and were spending summer up there working in the workshops. And a couple of them, big burly blokes, come over. Show us your etching. I showed them etching. It's piss weak, this big sort of thing. And then I saw these other prints being made of steel plate etching, which I never really did. I was a lithographer, so I saw students doing it with rod, but they also use copper because it's much finer, and zinc, which is fast to bite. And steel was, it's rough as guts, blah 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 blah. And then when I saw some of the results of artists working with it in Aberdeen, I thought, wow, it's very, very expressionistic, and it's got guts and all this sort of stuff. And so they were goading me to do an etching, try one, and I was doing lithos then. And one day he walks in with one of those plates, plonks it there, gets it ready with your steel wool and get it all prepared, did everything for me, gave me the crayon to draw. So I just went for it, and they bid it, and the result was just, wow, It was just a really fantastic technique, and Aberdeen boasted on, this, and plus they hated the idea of water-based and healthy printmaking. You had to be, you weren't a real man unless you put your hand in the acid, and But they were wild, and that place was wild, and I really loved it. It was a terrific place. I liked the action of Aberdeen, and also at that time there was all this stuff brewing with the Balkans the next time I went, so I was just a bit angry about all that because I was researching Dad and all this, and it was just sort of falling apart. And so I made that funny etching, just went and did it. I think it was really nice to show it because no one's really seen it. So it's an opportunity to have it to really look back now and go, yeah, look, that looks, I'm happy with it.